Let me start by recalling the facts. Today, more than 60 million people in the world are forcibly displaced. Some of these people have fled war or terror. Others were born in displacement and know no other life than that of being a refugee. Dear friends, we are witnessing the highest level of displacement since the Second World War, having to deal with a crisis of an unprecedented scale. This is a global crisis, and this crisis, unfortunately, will stay for a long time. Sometimes I say that this era, this century, will be named by the historians of the future as the era of human mobility, for many reasons. Right now, we all face the same challenges, from trying to save lives and offer protection, to fighting smugglers and trafficking, and addressing the root causes of irregular migration. This is not business as usual. There is a clear need for an immediate, comprehensive, and coordinated response. It is not a coincidence that, for the very first time, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development now includes migration. Nor it is a coincidence that global fora discuss migration as a top priority.
What we're looking at, I think, is a contrasting picture in terms of a sense of crisis within Europe and a sense of vulnerability within Europe, but also nothing new when we look at the international stage in terms of protracted refugee situations and mobility. And our perception of crisis here in our own little domains may actually not be so acute in the sense of it being a new phenomenon, but have become increasingly acute in the sense that we have yet to find sustainable solutions for many refugee populations around the world and sustainable migration management for many others who wish to take advantage of the various channels. Looking forward to the summit in September and looking back to the World Humanitarian Summit, it seems that development policies will be further integrated, or rather further acknowledge the use of migration, that foreign policy will start to adopt migration as a priority. It's interesting to hear now migration being talked about alongside trade and employment policies and energy policies. It was only a few years ago that one of the think tanks in Europe used to put migration alongside global pandemics and terrorism. So I feel like we've made a major step forward here this afternoon by putting it alongside development and trade. It's clear that there will be a lot of work and a lot of investment. And one of the things I think Faith really brought home to us is the fact that this is not just about development policies and management policies that try to find solutions for those who are on the move, but also about looking at the communities as a whole and thinking about social inclusion and integration policies that look at the long term and how people live together. Too often we think of people as targets for funding rather than thinking about the communities in which they live and how to address that. And as Stephen said, cities are a key actor in developing it. And as the European Union substantially increases its investment and its modes of investment in many of these areas, it will be interesting to see whether the projectized approach, which has in some cases proved to be limiting within the funding framework, can be moved beyond, and we can use these trust funds to try and leverage greater investments, not just from the European Union, but from EU member states to create sustainable change across the European Union.